A secret buried for decades is clawing its way back into light. The silence in Elena's grandmother's empty house seems to hold its breath, waiting. After finding a cryptic letter about someone called the Lost One, Lena begins experiencing vivid dreams of a crying child in an unfamiliar place. The crying grew louder until she spotted a small figure in the distance. Why did this child feel so familiar? The girl in a faded yellow dress from the 80s reached for her with desperate arms. Mouth open in a silent scream that somehow Elena could hear perfectly.
Subscribe now and turn on notifications to never miss a story.
The air seemed heavier, charged with secrets that pressed against the walls. Elena had spent countless childhood afternoons in that room, listening to stories and sharing cookies. Now it felt like a stranger's space, holding memories that belonged to someone she had never really known. Her investigation leads to old newspaper clippings about a mysterious disappearance that matches her grandmother's timeline perfectly. Her mind was preparing her for something, working through information she didn't consciously possess yet. The crying child felt too real, too specific to be mere imagination. He quickly changed the subject every time she brought up their grandmother's life in the 1980s. His eyes darted around the room, and his hands fidgeted with his coffee cup. Elena noticed how he suddenly found excuses to leave family gatherings early whenever she started asking questions about the past. Her legs moved through thick air as if she were underwater. Every call ended in an awkward pause or an excuse like they were guarding this secret fiercely. Winds ran in their bloodline, yet Maria had been completely erased from family memories and conversations. Police cited lack of evidence, but provided no other explanation for abandoning the case so quickly. Elena realized someone with answers was still out there. Someone who remembered what really happened during that camping trip. Mrs. Chen, who lived next door for 30 years, suddenly became unavailable. The Hendersons, who used to join them for holiday dinners, stopped returning her messages entirely. The answers were waiting in her grandmother's belongings, hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed family history. Their grandmother's death had hit Elena harder than anyone expected. Instead, tucked beneath the pictures, she discovered a crumpled letter written in her grandmother's shaky handwriting. The reaction was immediate and unsettling. Her mother's face went pale as she stared at the headline. She claimed she had never heard of any missing child, despite living in the same town during that exact time period. Her voice shook as she insisted Elena was chasing ghosts and wasting time on old tragedies that had nothing to do with their family. There it was, a 1981 headline about 6-year-old Sarah Martinez vanishing during a camping trip. The timeline matched perfectly with her grandmother's past, and the child's age fit the figure from Elena's dreams. The paper felt fragile between her fingers as she read the desperate words. "I need forgiveness for what happened to the lost one. I can't carry this burden anymore." A gulp caught in Elena's throat, and her eyes stung as she read the letter 3 times, trying to understand what her grandmother meant by the lost one. Elena wanted to believe this explanation, but something felt wrong about that theory. The distance between them never changed, no matter how hard she pushed forward. Then, just as she felt she might finally reach the sobbing figure, something invisible grabbed her from behind and yanked her backward. The child's face became clear for one terrible moment, tears streaming down pale cheeks, before everything dissolved into darkness. But when Elena cracks that letter open, she questioned every childhood memory. What started as grief after her grandmother's funeral would soon become something far more disturbing. 3 weeks later, the dreams began. Every night, Elena jolted awake with sweat covering her skin. The same desperate cries echoed in her mind, coming from a desolate place she had never seen in waking life. A child's voice called out across empty fields dotted with dead trees. The sound so raw and heartbroken that Elena would spend hours afterward trying to shake the memory. The dreams followed a sickeningly familiar pattern. Elena found herself standing in this barren landscape where nothing grew, and shadows stretched too long across cracked earth. Elena tried to run toward the child every single time. Maya shrugged it off as grief-induced nightmares when Elena described the dreams. Walking through her grandmother's house to sort through belongings, Elena noticed how the old woman's bedroom felt different now. The dreams intensified each night instead of fading. Each dawn, she remembered more details, like a puzzle she couldn't escape. Elena realized these weren't random grief nightmares. Soon, Elena would understand exactly why these dreams haunted her with such vivid intensity. Elena pulled out a stack of yellowed photographs from her grandmother's dresser drawer, expecting to find familiar family moments. The letter sent Elena straight to the local library's newspaper archives, scrolling through microfiche from 43 years ago. Elena printed the newspaper clipping and brought it home to show her mother. Uncle David's behavior became equally strange when Elena mentioned the newspaper article. Elena reached out to old family friends who had known her grandmother for decades. Her research revealed something shocking. Elena scanned a faded 1975 census printout and froze when she saw two Martinez girls born on the same day, her grandmother and another name, Maria. The newspaper reports described how the search for the missing child was mysteriously called off. After only 3 days, Elena tracked down Officer Martinez, who had retired from the police force 15 years earlier. A front gate creaked in the wind as she approached his house. The officer explained how Elena's grandmother had pushed Maria during an argument over a toy, causing her twin to fall and hit her head. Elena's grandmother watched her sister die in that terrible moment by the water's edge. The research Elena had done about recurring dreams proved accurate. Her mind was working through unresolved trauma that belonged to previous generations, manifesting as vivid nightmares featuring the lost child. She closed her eyes and made a silent promise to Maria, wherever she rested. This devastating truth finally explained the emotional wounds that had affected her entire family for decades. But now, Elena understood that some forces refused to stay buried forever. Panic consumed the young girl as she realized what had happened. His weathered face grew serious. When she mentioned the missing child case from 1981, he remembered it clearly because of how abruptly the investigation ended. Lena's grandmother had come to the station 3 days after the search began, with a confession that haunted him for decades. She admitted that in 1981, 8-year-old grief and jealousy cost her sister's life by the lakeshore. Elena realized this explained so many strange patterns in their family history. Her grandmother's distant behavior around children, the way family gatherings always felt strained, the anxiety and depression that seemed to plague multiple generations without clear cause. Everyone had been living under the shadow of this secret without understanding why their relationships felt so fragmented. The officer described how Elena's grandmother's parents made a desperate decision to hide Maria's body rather than report the accident. They feared their surviving daughter would be taken away and their family destroyed forever. Elena's hand shook as she processed this information. Her grandmother had carried this crushing guilt for over 70 years. Watching her family suffer from the weight of their shared secret, the dreams suddenly made perfect sense. Elena realized those nightmares were her grandmother's guilt, echoing through her own sleep. Officer Martinez revealed that Maria was buried in an unmarked grave on land that once belonged to their family. Elena sat in her car after leaving the officer's house, her pulse hammering against her ribs. Some truths refuse to stay buried, no matter how deep a family hides them. Elena's grandmother had carried this crushing weight for 70 years. Watching her family suffer without understanding why their relationships felt so broken, one moment of childhood panic had poisoned generations through anxiety, depression, and fractured bonds that no one could explain. Now Elena must decide: expose the secret or bury the past once more. Her choice to confront this buried trauma offers her family their first real chance at healing, proving that facing devastating truths can finally break cycles of inherited pain. If Elena's struggle resonates with you, hit subscribe and share your thoughts below. What would you do if you uncovered a secret like this?
And that's the end of this incredible journey. Thank you for sticking with us through every twist, turn, and revelation. Your time and support mean the world to us. But the stories don't stop here. If you love thrilling, suspenseful, and captivating tales, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next gripping story. Got thoughts on this story? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what you think. Until next time, stay curious, stay intrigued, and we'll see you in the next one. Subscribe now and get ready for the next unforgettable story.